What's up, guys? It's Kyle Pereira from Last Word on Hockey, and me and Neil started a podcast that is currently unnamed. This is going to be the first episode, which you're going to be hearing shortly. And for those of you who don't know who I am, again, I'm a writer at Last Word on Hockey. I do a lot of work for the 2020 NHL Draft and soon to be 2021 NHL Draft. Niels is a personality on hockey Twitter. He does a lot of mock trades, and I'm sure most of you who are listening to this podcast right now got the link through him. Today we had a guest, Voluntary Dom on Twitter, another Bolts fan, and in this episode we actually talk about how the Bolts won the Stanley Cup from the off-season all the way through to the trade deadline acquisitions of Barclay Goodrow and Blake Coleman, all the way into the playoff run itself and expectations that we had for the team as they moved on through the playoffs. Then we got into free agency and big-name free agents upcoming this off-season. We also went into the draft, who we think will go first overall, and we also talked about prospects that we personally like, including Anton Lundell, Quentin Byfield, and Tim Stützle. And then we went into some mock trades that you guys submitted for Niels to go over. We only got a handful of them in, but that will be episode 1 for you guys today.
So, Dom?
Yeah.
Well, can you explain what happened Monday night?
We are Stanley Cup champions. For the second time in franchise history, the Tampa Bay Lightning are Stanley Cup champions.
So, I just want to ask, because it was one of those seasons. It was just one of those seasons. How are you feeling in the offseason when Julien Brisebois signed Pat Maroon and Kevin Shattenkirk to inexpensive one-year deals, brought in Luke Schenn, albeit, it's Luke Schenn, but Luke Schenn, among a bunch of these other guys like Luke Witkowski, who never really played in the NHL, but these gritty guys when everyone was talking about how Tampa needed grit. How did you feel about those signings going into the season?
Well, so the thing with that is, we had just lost Ryan Callahan to retirement or LTIR, or whatever exactly you want to call it. And getting Pat Maroon to replace Ryan Callahan in the bottom six, I'm like, okay, that's a good move. That ought to work. Pat Maroon is just a Stanley Cup champion. He's going to be just fine. I was skeptical of the Shattenkirk move, not necessarily because of him as a player, although I didn't think he'd be as good as he was. I just wasn't sure exactly how we were going to be able to make him fit on the team and how much ice time that would cost someone like Jan Ruda. But we managed to get it working with Shattenkirk playing at a really high level for the Lightning. And then I hated the Luke Schenn move, but whatever, he didn't play that much.
When we signed Shattenkirk, I know a lot of people, and obviously you were one of those people that doubted the signing. Like, Shattenkirk was joining a loaded D-core that had Hedman, McDonough, Chernak, Sergachev. You had Jan Ruda last year, at the end of last year, that established good chemistry with Victor Hedman. You had a guy in Braden Coburn who was filling out the depth at the bottom two. And initially when I saw that he signed and saw he was right-handed, and a majority of those defensemen that I just listed off were left-handed defensemen, I thought to myself, he could carve himself out a role, and I couldn't have been more right about that at the beginning of the season, in the offseason there. So it was one of those signings that Julien Brisebois made that, going into it, it's like, I'm not sure why, but okay, he's not a bad player. We'll see where it goes. It's a cheap contract anyways. We had the cap space for it. Not to mention we were able to re-sign Braden Point before we brought those two guys in. So
Yeah.
it is what it is. It's a signing. It's worth it, just to see what happens. And if it doesn't work out, he'll leave in free agency next offseason. It's not a big deal. It's not a big loss. Well, it worked out.
2 game-winning goals in the Stanley Cup final.
And, as the season progressed, obviously it was a slow start. We were, 6th or 7th in the Atlantic?
Even at the start, though, Shatty himself was playing really well.
Yeah.
I remember Sabres fans were chirping the Bolts at the beginning of the year.
Well, that's because Sabres fans are Sabres fans.
Oh, yeah, when the Sabres led the division for a little bit there. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
They beat him in, what was it, the international series, whatever the fuck it was called.
Yeah, we beat him in Sweden.
Yeah. I was going to get into that. That was the turning point of the Lightning season, because the Sabres were leading the division, I think, heading into it, and we were 6th or 7th place. Like I said, I can't remember. And that was our turning point. We beat the Sabres in both games, dominated, in my opinion. And then from that point forward, we had a good long break in between those games, after those games. And that break paid dividends, and we just went on a roll and just started tearing through teams. We went on like a 15-game winning streak or whatever it was. I'm sure you
Yeah,
remember.
December and January, we went out there destroying teams.
And then February, we kind of slowed down. The power play was atrocious. The penalty kill was not great. And we couldn't keep up with Boston. And then Boston just took the division. And then the trade deadline happened. Obviously, we needed a spark because nothing was really working after we started rattling off those wins and then slowed down. We went out and we got Barclay Goodrow and Blake Coleman. I just want to talk really quick. When they traded for Blake Coleman, I thought to myself, Blake Coleman's a good player, but what did we give up? A 2020 first-round pick and our 2019 first-round pick, Nolan Foote. And I thought to myself, did we really just trade 2 first-round picks for a third liner? I was not happy. I wrote an article that day saying how much I hated the trade. And then
to put it into perspective, the first round pick that was traded for Blake Coleman was the first round pick acquired in the JT Miller trade.
Yes.
And JT Miller was in Vancouver like over a point per game. Guy outscored a different JT in Toronto. And like, imagine how that guy feels right about now. It's rough.
So I was thinking to myself, what a ridiculous trade. And then a couple days later, they traded a first-round pick for Barclay Goodrow. And I said, did they just trade another first-round pick for a fourth liner? Like, what is happening right now? And I wrote another article flaming Julien Brisebois for bringing in a guy who really wasn't – he's not a big name, and he gave up a first-round pick. Then we got a third-round pick, obviously, but why give up a first-round pick? And that was just where my head was at. It's like, I get you have to give to get. To build a team, you have to give up assets, and I get that. But Goodrow and Coleman aren't top 6 guys. These aren't guys that are going to dominate offensively or defensively, for that matter. They're just guys that are not great.
I mean, Coleman kind of does dominate defensively, but
you're not wrong. But at the time,
I called you out on it.
No, you called me out on it right away.
I'm convinced the Lightning just got Goodrow. That way they could, like, protect themselves if Vegas went all the way to the Cup final. Like, they could just be like, no, we're good.
And then COVID happened, obviously. I just want to ask Dom, because, again, you're a Lightning fan, going into the bubble format with that long break and then Stamkos being out and then having to face Columbus, of all teams, how are you feeling going into the playoffs?
So it was interesting. I was having some mixed emotions because if you remember in the last round robin game, Victor Hedman got hurt. But when they said Victor Hedman's playing, I'm like, all right, we have a chance to do something special this year. Because otherwise, how we've been playing in the exhibition games and the round robin games, the Lightning have been playing really well outside of that game where Hedman got hurt. And Braden Point, like ever since the puck dropped on the first exhibition game in the bubble, he was a man on a mission. And I'm like, okay. So I knew there was the chance, but it was always risky to match up against a team like Columbus, you know.
And I still remember I did my bracket challenge, and I had Columbus beating Tampa in 5 games. And I said to all the tweets that said that Tampa was going to win in 7 or 6 or whatever, I commented, I said, nah, you have better luck just saying Columbus is going to win. Just like stop wasting your time rooting for Tampa. They're without Stamkos. Hedman, it might not be at 100%. It's a wash. It's going to be Columbus. It's not even game 1, 5 overtimes in. Braden Point scores the game winner, and I thought to myself, that was our playoff moment. That was our playoff moment.
Slaying the dragon.
What?
It's like slaying the dragon almost.
Well, game 1, going 5 overtimes, just that never happens. And so when we won, the determination and the mental toughness that the team showed that was not there last year at all. When they showed that, I thought to myself, okay.
To me, that comes from Braden Point. Braden Point was, like as I was saying, he's a man on a mission all playoffs. And we saw it from that game 1. He put the team on his back. He scored that winning goal. He scored the goal to clinch that series too. And he scored so many clutch goals all playoffs.
From that
Stanley Cup winning goal.
from that moment forward, I thought to myself, "Yep, all right." That, like I said, that was our moment, and that was when I knew like this could be something special. That kick-started it all. Now I wanted to keep that negative mentality because every year I go in.
Yeah, you and I were two of the most negative Tampa fans. I mean,
Yes.
yeah.
I went in and I said, Tampa's going to lose or Tampa's going to win every year. I went in, I put out on Twitter, I said, if Columbus sweeps Tampa, I'll get a Columbus Blue Jackets tattoo on me. Because I thought there was no way in hell it was going to happen. I was so cocky going in. And the year before that, I was like, oh, Tampa's got it in the bag. This is one of the best teams they've ever had. Like, they're my favorite to win. Well, they went to the Eastern Conference Final, right? And lost to
With a
the
3-2 lead.
So it was one of those things where it was like,
Didn't score for the last 8 periods.
yeah, I went in negative and I stayed that way. I wanted to stay that way just to keep that mentality because I'm so not superstitious.
The time that I was the most negative was that Islanders series. I really did not want to face the Islanders. I was terrified of the New York Islanders. I thought we could beat Columbus. I thought Boston was going to be like a coin flip series, a Game 7 type thing. I mean, obviously we handled them. But coming into that Islanders series, I'm like, yo, there's no way we beat this team. Because I didn't, like my bracket I had us winning, but I didn't think we'd have to face the Islanders because I thought they'd get knocked out early. For whatever reason, Barry Trotz is our kryptonite. And that was to me just as important as slaying the Columbus Dragon was slaying the Barry Trotz Dragon.
It was just a redemption run for Tampa. And like I said,
with beating Boston thrown in there for fun.
Yep. So it was just an unbelievable playoff run and definitely one no one will ever forget. No.
That team really came together. Like so many years of being that dominant, and it just clicked. Like it finally clicked, and like one of the most deserving teams. I would say hands down the best team in the league won the cup this year, which is really funny considering all the circumstances. And we were like, oh, this is going to be the craziest playoff yet. The most unexpected team is going to win the cup. And for like the first time ever, like I swear the first time in recent memory, the expected team wins the cup.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, the last time that the best team in the league won the cup might be the 2013 Blackhawks. Like, it's been a little while. Maybe the 2016 Pens. Maybe the 2016 Pens.
Yeah.
With Phil Kessel, yeah, that year I picked them too to win. I thought for sure. Now that the playoffs are over, and what's next is obviously the re-sign phase, and then the draft, and then free agency. It's happening in just a matter of 4 days.
And this is lined up to be one of the most chaotic off seasons in a long time. Like, it's going to match exactly the pace of the year and how everything's gone so far. I don't think anything's going to go like we quite expect. But we do have a couple rumors that we can go over and a couple things that are considered to, be somewhat expected. Might not happen. But starting off, probably the biggest name available in free agency this year, Alex Pietrangelo. I've heard his name tied to a couple teams. Vegas has been talked about. Toronto's been talked about. Florida's been talked about. What do you think, Kyle?
Honestly, I'm not sure where Pietrangelo will go because I don't think Vegas would be a good fit for him. Not that – okay, he would fit in well with Vegas. I just think Vegas should focus on other things surrounding the organization. I don't think defense is something they should be worried about. They have really good defensemen there. Nate Schmid, obviously a really underrated defenseman. Shea Theodore is a rising elite defenseman and in a matter of years could have a Norris Trophy. Who knows? I mean, with the way he played this year and what he showed, he has that potential. So I don't think they need a guy like Pietrangelo. I think they should be patient, especially with their salary cap situation. They shouldn't rush into a guy like Pietrangelo and potentially trade someone who could have had a massive impact on their season or future seasons. I feel like they'd be better off not going for Pietrangelo. Now, Pietrangelo's a great player, but he's in his 30s. And he's probably going to be looking for a somewhat long-term contract, especially with the COVID situation and finances being all over the place. He's going to want a guaranteed contract. And he's going to want a long-term contract, something that he can be comfortable with in the long run. He won't have to worry about another COVID situation if it ever were to happen. So I don't think Vegas would really be willing to comply with that sort of thing with, again, their salary cap situation. So I think if any team's going to go for it, it'd be Toronto, because you have to imagine this is what, 3 years now where they were expected to do something and they couldn't even get past the first round. They couldn't even get past the play-in round of the Stanley Cup playoffs this time around. And you have to think, as Kyle Dubas, you have to do something now. Last year you didn't blow up, but last year you traded Nazem Kadri, who was vital, a big leader in that locker room, for Alex Kerfoot and Tyson Barrie, which at the time was a great trade, but it blew up in their face, with Barrie turning out to be not nearly as good as they were hoping. And you can blame Mike Babcock, but he was just not nearly as good as they were hoping. And you have to imagine the frustration that he's facing, and the fact that Marner's way overpaid. Whether it's his fault or not, you can push the blame or point the blame anywhere. Marner's overpaid. Matthews is getting paid a lot. John Tavares is getting paid a lot. Nylander is highly criticized by Leafs fans, even though his contract is kind of fair, but he's still highly criticized and he's still highly paid. You have a guy like Morgan Riley and Jake Muzzin, who, I mean, the whole decor is just criticized by Leafs fans and media alike. So you have to think as Kyle Dubas, and you have to look at Sheldon Keefe as well, someone he's worked with for quite a while now. He knows what Sheldon Keefe's going to be looking for. And their frustrations, they're going to show some aggression this offseason. And with who's available, again, they're going to probably move on from Frederik Andersen as well. So they're going to be extremely aggressive. They're going to look at this loaded goalie market, which we'll get into, obviously, and they're going to look to bolster their defense. And I would not be shocked if they move a guy like Nylander because of all the public stuff going on with him. And I guarantee you they're going to move Frederik Andersen. That's been one of the hot rumors, too. And they're going to free up cap space. They're going to bring in a guy like Alex Pietrangelo. I see it. I really do. I think Pietrangelo is going to land in Toronto for all those reasons. Again, I would love to see him on Vegas because, one, I don't like Toronto and I don't want to see them succeed. But that would be one way for Toronto to succeed. Not blow up, but get rid of some pieces who aren't necessarily working out as they should have, and find a guy like Pietrangelo who's a leader and can help push them, especially since he's a Stanley Cup champion.
Now, here's the thing with Toronto, though. Are they really going to dump more depth pieces and then sign another superstar to a huge contract?
Yeah, I've seen this one before.
Seen this happen. I don't know how smart it is.
When they got rid of James Van Riemsdyk and Tyler Bozak, et cetera, to bring in John Tavares, and how has that worked out?
Well,
I would say they're probably a better team, but at the same time, it hasn't gotten them anywhere. So you have to start winning now while you have your core locked up. Matthews is, 22, 23. Nylander's starting to hit his prime right now. Their window's now. They have to start competing.
Yeah. And like I said, their depth, Tampa is Exhibit A when it comes to depth. They have unbelievable depth, and that's arguably what won them the cup. That third line with Gord, Coleman, and Goudreau were unbelievable in the playoffs, and that's the kind of thing that Toronto needs. But you also have to think of all those young faces that are coming up, like Nick Robertson is coming up, and he could fill out a guy like Jason Spezza's role on the fourth line. Like, they have young guys that are ready to join the NHL roster, and I feel like they can give up some depth pieces and add some youth on entry-level contracts to their bottom six. They have the ability to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm skeptical of the Toronto Pietrangelo thing just because of how they're going to make it work cap-wise and what players they'd have to move. Like, to make the space, you almost necessarily have to move William Nylander. And I really don't think they should be doing that because what are you going to get for Nylander that's going to be cheap, right? Because you have to clear up cap space in the move. And what teams even have the cap space where they're going to be able to take Nylander and give you appropriate value for him?
Colorado.
Like, Nylander to Colorado for what? Package around Sam Girard or something?
Connor Timmins.
Why would Toronto do that?
Young depth defenseman.
For Nylander?
I could see them going
Not
after
just Timmins.
I can see them going after Sam Girard.
So, yeah, but Sam Girard has an NHL contract. Timmins has a...
He makes 5, so that'd be tricky to fit.
Yeah, but with a flat cap this year, anything involving Pietrangelo is tricky to fit.
I think
honestly, I kind of wish Vegas had cap space because I want to see Pietrangelo on Vegas because Vegas is like no right-handed defenseman.
They have 2 lefties on the right side, and our only right-handed shot defenseman that's like semi-capable is Zach Whitecloud. So like
all your defensemen are lefties pretty much.
And I mean, Shea Theodore and Nate Schmidt are both more comfortable on the right side, but at the same time, it's just such a unique, weird thing. Like, I don't think I've seen a team like that. Big rumors. around Tyson Berry. I've heard him
Vancouver.
tied my favorite teams, Vancouver and Vegas. That's going to be a disaster in my opinion. If he gets anything over,
Yeah, I feel like Jim Benning is gonna throw him the bag. I really do.
I'm gonna cry.
That's the most Vancouver thing to do, right? Isn't it?
Actually, the most Vancouver thing to do would be the OEL thing going on, where he's apparently whitelisted.
I think OEL is going to Alberta. I don't know which team.
He apparently refused to go to Edmonton or Calgary. Shut them both down. He has a no move clause.
Really?
He wants to go
Shut
to
him down.
Boston.
I heard Boston. Yeah, I heard Boston.
And
I don't know how Boston has the salary cap for that.
They're
They
really
do
going to
have
let go
salary.
of a cheaper and better defenseman to get OEL.
Exactly. Torrey Krug is way better than Oliver Ekman-Larsson right now.
Sure, Boston. Knock yourself out.
Like, I mean, I'll take it as a fan of a division rival, but I mean,
Go for it.
have fun with that one.
That's just going to be – if Vancouver trades Brock Besser for Oliver Ekman-Larsson –
Oh, no. Wait, is that actually a rumor?
depends how stupid Jim Benning is, but I've learned
Oh,
not
God.
Put two
Oh,
and two
God. Please
together.
no.
Besser has had his name out there.
Trading Brock Besser right now would be a colossal mistake, if you ask me.
It'd be such a backwards move. And, like,
But
you
Besser should be Pedersen's sidekick for the long run, if you ask me.
Exactly, yeah. And he might not be flashy, but he's pretty dominant.
Yeah, dude picks corners, bro.
One big thing that came out today is Craig Morgan did mention the Coyotes could explore Clayton Keller's trade value on the market. I don't know if any move is imminent there, but it is an interesting little tidbit. I don't think it'd make a ton of sense because they're not going to get a lot from him. His value's kind of tanked compared to what it will be and what it has been. But that's just kind of.
I don't know. I really don't know with that.
And that would be another really.
I think we're talking about 2016 drafted wingers who are going to get traded. I think the guy to talk about is Patrick Laine.
And Elliot Friedman, I believe, did mention that he believes Patrick Laine is going to be dealt. Winnipeg is seriously looking for a deal.
I think they should trade Laine and Connor, but yeah.
They both
Keep Ehlers. Keep Ehlers, though. Ehlers a stud.
This is just a really unique offseason as for how everything's going to shape up.
It is, and the flat cap makes it even more interesting.
Where will Line go?
I mean, Vegas does have a history of going crazy, and I don't believe it will happen, but they do need goal scoring. I don't know how it would
Vegas
work.
makes sense. It really does.
3-year history of, yeah.
Just doing absolutely batshit banana moves. So,
Getting Paul Stastny, getting Max Pacioretty, getting Mark Stone.
Kelly McCrimmon has so much courage, and George McPhee too. Like they don't care. They will do whatever it takes to.
I definitely could see that happening. I could also see Carolina. That's another team that could use finishing.
I could see Columbus as well.
Yeah, another team that could be in the market for a scoring winger.
Well, what else? Who else is on the market? I know you had a couple bigger bombs. Like Keller's not going to go anywhere. There's no way. He's not going to get dealt. Line, I'm not going to be shocked. Ehlers, it's 50-50 for me because I could see it, but it'd be stupid.
Yeah, I think they probably only move one out of Line, Ehlers, and Connor, even if I really think they should move more than one. They need to get blue line help, though. Bro, it's Josh Morrissey and Dylan DeMello, and then who else is on that defense?
They have Pilon, Pionk, same thing. But yeah. Just
Carl Dahlstrom and Anthony Boteto aren't exactly winning Stanley Cups. So.
Tucker Pullman's a stud, like just absolutely elite defenseman. Although he is low key kind of underrated.
Dmitry Kulikov,
Billy Heinola.
Ville Heinola, yeah. Sammy Niku, no, stop.
Josh Morris, that's dry here.
I feel bad for Morris.
Boston with a couple big moves being talked about. The aforementioned OEL situation, which would be horrible if they decided to go down that route. But through The Athletic, it was mentioned that the Bruins could look at moving Jake DeBrusk or Brandon Carlo. And I have heard Edmonton's name chucked around for Jake DeBrusk.
I don't know why you would trade Jake DeBrusk because you've got a top six in place that looks perfect right now, if you ask me.
I know why they would trade Jake DeBrusk. He and his agent, I don't know who his agent is. I just know his agent has come out and said that with DeBrusk that they're going to try to get as much money as they can, try to maximize the earnings that he can get. And though Boston does have cap space, again, if they don't sign Torrey Krug, they're going to have cap space. They have plenty of it. They have enough to sign DeBrusque.
Probably won't sign Chara either.
Yeah. So the problem is DeBrusque is trying to maximize his earnings and take advantage of Boston if they bite on it. And so Boston doesn't give out big contracts. Just look at Marchand's deal. Look at Pasternak's deal. Look at Bergeron's deal. Just Boston doesn't give out big deals, and that's why I think DeBrusque is going to get moved. And hey, Edmonton, you want to trade for a restricted free agent and Jake DeBrusque, who's going to make you overpay? Go for it.
I mean,
I wonder if they consider moving Krejci, because Charlie Coyle probably is capable of playing second line center if they don't want to pay Krejci that kind of money.
Krejci's clutch, and he is a big part.
Krejci is good. I love Krejci, but I don't know if Boston wants to pay him as much money as they are, and they do have Charlie Coyle.
that's kind of an interesting situation. There's, especially with this flat cap, there's going to be so much fluidity between rosters.
Yeah, the only thing stable on their second line is Andre Kasha. He's going to be there. The rest of it.
And just to stay on Boston, I actually went in depth on it. I want to say a few months back. Before COVID happened, I wrote an article on why they should just let Krug walk. And it's because they have a lot of defensemen. Their blue line's loaded. They can probably bring back Chara on a very cheap deal and limit his ice time. They obviously have McAvoy. They have Carlo, Grzelcyk, who
Grzelcyk's quite solid.
Grzelcyk is extremely underrated.
For some reason, they have John Moore. I still don't know why they did that. Paid him a bunch of money to sit in the press box.
Jakub Zaboral, Connor Clifton.
I like Clifton. I like Clifton.
Urho Vakanainen, if that's how you pronounce his name.
I think you got it right.
I don't know. But those guys are ready to be full-time NHLers.
Yeah, they have a young blue line.
Very young. And so
someone's going to give Krug a bag.
I wouldn't be shocked if they traded Brendan Carlo because he's basically just another Chara, just younger and without the leadership qualities.
I don't see a reason why you would, though. I mean, Carlo's one of the better defensive guys in the league. He's a valuable player to have on your second pair. I don't see why you would move him.
Are you going to whip out the advanced analytics?
I mean, I'm just saying he's very good defensively. Offensively, he's not really anything.
I want you to whip it up. Tell me what his even strength defensive stat is, like EVO, EVD, whatever.
You want me to see like where he ranks?
Yeah, where he ranks.
Yeah, so in the last 2 seasons, Carlo's 9th among defensemen in EVD.
Woo.
There you go.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking pure defense. He's up there.
It would be stupid for Boston to trade Carlo, but I can definitely see it happening because he's big and he's not particularly fast. So.
Yeah.
And again, they have a young decor that is ready to make the jump. And there's a lot
but to me, Carlo should be a part of that young defense, you know.
Who goes first overall to the New York Rangers?
Alexi Lafreniere. I mean, it's gonna happen.
I'm on that Byfield to New York.
I love Byfield. I definitely think Byfield's a lot closer to 1 than he is to 3, but I don't see the Rangers doing that.
I don't know if he's closer to 1 than he is to 3.
Yes, he absolutely.
I think he is. Byfield's a pretty rare talent. I think he's number 1 in a lot of years.
I'd say he's probably – we have three players that in most years would probably go number 1 overall. And
I don't know about 3. Definitely 2.
I'm a lot higher on Tim Stützle than most, assuming I'm not.
I'm not. I'm not as high on him. He's like number 5 for me.
He's number 4. So I have Lucas Raymond. No, sorry, Anton Lundell at 3 now. I changed my ranking.
Lundell at 3, huh?
I have Raymond at 3, Lundell at 4, and Stützle at 5.
I have Lundell like 9th.
I think you're sleeping on him. I think he's a top 5 player for sure.
Okay, so I guess I'll lead off with my first guy, which Anton Lundell. Since there was some disagreement here, Niels cough. I went in depth on Lundell, like I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago that it was.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah, I watched about 8 games on Lundell. I tallied up 4 games with possession statistics. Not position statistics. So zone entries and exits, stuff like that. He consistently ranks in the top 3, top 4 in the draft in both zone exits and zone entries. And when it comes to successfully exiting the zone, he's right up there with Lafreniere and Byfield, like neck and neck with those two. And when you look at zone entries, he falls down a little bit when it comes to successfully entering the offensive zone, but that's more because when it comes to Lundell, he's more primed to dump it in. But transitionally, he is solid. One of the best players in the draft when it comes to forwards transitioning up ice. And you know how important that is in the new age of hockey, transitioning the puck through the neutral zone. That is extremely important. And Lundell does an excellent job. And more importantly, he does an excellent job breaking out of the defensive zone. And we all know Lundell has incredible defensive abilities. I think that's one of the most talked about things when it comes to Lundell's game. And it overshadows his offensive game. So his shot is unbelievable. He has a really, really good shot. And I think people underrate it because you look at the vast majority of people, they're all talking about his defensive game, not talking about his offensive game. And because this draft is as tight as it is, especially up at the top, people nitpick for these mistakes. And because his offensive game isn't talked about, there has to be something wrong with it. So they nitpick with his game. And yeah, he's not a great offensive player. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, he's wonderful in the offensive zone. Obviously, he has his flaws. And when you look at other Finnish players coming out of Liga with, Alexander Barkov and Patrick Laine, he's the worst of the 3 when it comes to offensive statistics. Now, he's not that far behind Laine, but he's still the 3rd among those 3. So there's obviously no doubt he is behind, and he's one of the older players in the draft as well. So he had a slight advantage over Laine and Barkov in their draft years, and yet he still performed worse than them. So again, there are flaws in his offensive game. But you look at his overall game, he's got a really good shot. From distance, from in tight, he can he's got good puck moving ability, especially on the power play. He's got good awareness as well. He's able to move his feet in the offensive zone and find soft spots and zone coverages. He's good at moving the puck as well. Very, very smart passing the puck, and he finds openings very often, and he can set up a lot of good chances, especially, again, on the man advantage. He can be dangerous with his cross-ice passes and passes back to the point. And he drives the net a lot, too. And the way that HIFK played on the power play, they had one person on the bumper position right by the side of the net on the strong side where the puck was. Lundell would move it down to that guy and then just charge towards the front of the net. That's going to work at the NHL level. Look at Tampa, Braden Point. He sat right in the slot. You know how many goals he scored from just sitting in the slot? Imagine him starting in the perimeter and then charging the defense with his speed, especially Braden Point, with his speed, charging.
And Lundell's not exactly Point, but he's good.
No, but my point is he drives the net, and that's going to have success at the NHL level. His awareness to move the puck and just immediately go, that's big.
His type of game does seem like it will translate better than a lot of European players, especially.
You know who he reminds me of a lot?
Yeah.
Ryan O'Reilly.
I can see that.
That's my favorite comp for him. I think I see a lot of O'Reilly in him, and he can become that level of guy to me. I think he can become a Selke winner. I'm that high on him.
I agree 100%. He could easily be a Selke winner with the right team.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, again, Bergeron was a Selke winner before his offensive game really took off, and then he was put with Marchand and Pastrnak, and now he's a 90-point player. Like, imagine putting Lundell, when he's fully developed, on a line with David Pastrnak and Brad Marchand. Lundell would just dominate. It wouldn't even be fair. And again, he's a dual threat in the offensive zones, though he hasn't fully shown it. It's a bit of untapped potential there. And then his defensive game just absolutely dominant. His possession stats compared to both Barkov and Laine, it doesn't even compare. It doesn't even come close to compare. He was like 10, 11, 12% above in most possession stats over Laine and Barkov in their draft years. It wasn't even comparable. Like, he dominated when it came to that.
And again, that's a big part of the O'Reilly comparison.
Right. So Lundell is a complete player because he is extremely sound, both technically and just skill-wise in the defensive zone. Transitionally, he is among the top players in the draft when it comes to transitioning the puck up ice. And in the offensive zone, he has a lot of untapped potential and very underrated skills in the offensive zone. One of them being him driving the net and knowing that he can drive to the net and have openings there. And he found a lot of success doing that. So that's why Lundell is my number 3 prospect, because he's so good. He is so good. It's unbelievable.
I think I'm going to talk about Tim Stützle. I haven't watched anywhere near as much as I want to. I've only seen a couple games of Tim Stützle, so it is a tiny sample size. But I just love how electrifying he is. Sometimes his hands are unreal. He's not a tiny guy. He's right around 5'11", 6 foot. He's not the biggest guy on the planet either. I just have this gut instinct, and I'm no scout. But I have a feeling he's really going to translate to the NHL level. And I see a little bit of Elias Pettersson in him, kind of. I love his playmaking ability. He's a fantastic passer. His hockey IQ is through the roof. And his production against men in a pro league across in Europe is undeniable. And Byfield has, I would say, the best upside in the entire draft. But I think Stützle's right up there. He's not far behind, and I just think that it's going to happen. Plus, I mean, I have heard rumblings from LA chatter in circles, and
yeah, I do think LA is going to pick him, which makes Byfield the auto. Quentin Byfield, to me, he's significantly closer to number 1 than he is to number 3, and as good as Lundell and Stützle and Raymond and these other guys in this draft are, Byfield is a guy who would be a number 1 pick in the majority of drafts to me, because there are not very many players with his combination of size and puck handling ability. It's just incredibly rare. And when you do see those players, you look at Yevgeny Malkin, Jack Eichel, Alexander Barkov. They're these type of guys who manage to dominate the NHL. I think that could be what we're seeing in Quentin Byfield. We can see a center like that, a center who has the size to play any sort of power game and to dominate in that way, and then has the skill to basically drag people through the neutral zone and make opponents look silly. And there's not really weaknesses in his game. I mean, you could say that. I mean, if you're gonna really nitpick and try and compare him as a number 1 pick level prospect, we're comparing to Lafreniere. He doesn't have quite the hockey IQ of Lafreniere, but that's fine.
not many people do.
Yeah, like his skill level, his stick handling, his shooting, his skating ability for his size is absolutely ridiculous. And I think we're looking at a guy who really does have the potential to become one of those elite centers in the league.
And for Byfield, I think one of his smaller weaknesses is his defensive game is still sort of developing in juniors, which is why he might need another year.
He's very raw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the youngest players in the draft, so it's not really a problem that he's raw.
He has so much raw talent in him, and like so much, it's tantalizing. Just like he could be the best player in the league, in my opinion. I don't know if he will.
Yeah, I mean, his ceiling is prime Yevgeny Malkin.
Yeah,
I'd say it might be better even. Like
it's possible.
It's could possible. Be. I don't know if he will, but he could.
Absolutely. And like I said, I know I said it in the group chat a couple times, but Byfield could very easily, in 4 to 5 years, be better than Lafreniere. And that's why I think the Rangers should go Byfield, because he's a center, and that's exactly what the Rangers need. And they don't need him right away. They don't. They have the patience. They have the ability to be patient because their team already made, albeit in a 2014 format, already made it to the playoffs. They already got to that stage, so they know they can win. The first overall pick was just a consolation prize. Run with that. They are loaded with wingers. What are you going to move the recently signed Chris Kreider? Are you going to move Artemi Panarin? Are you going to move a guy like Capo Caco, who you drafted last year?
Yes, they should move Caco.
They should, but they're not going to.
Move Caco for a center and then pick Loff.
See, that would be a big brain move, but the Rangers are not big brain.
A little too big brain for an NHL GM.
Yeah, I guess so.
In standard Niels fashion, we should probably wrap this up with some good old mock trades, which I'm sure my audience especially just loves seeing my mock trades.
Of course.
So luckily I've spared you guys. I got it from the good old internet here. So we have a couple, not a ton. I'm not going to sit here and annoy you guys for 8 hours with low quality mock trades, but here goes. So the first one from This is from Jacob at Canadian Jesus 99 on Twitter. He suggested Sam Reinhart for Rickard Raquel, which is Ricard,
yeah.
Ricard, yeah, same. He said, honestly, can't remember how to spell his name, which is very valid because I don't either. Brennan Montour and a third to Toronto for Andreas Janssen was also chucked out there. So that's two really interesting ideas here. So what do you guys
Assuming
think?
he's a Sabres fan.
Coming from Sabres fan, yes.
Yeah. If I'm the Sabres, I don't do that first one.
No.
Raquel is pretty hit or miss year to year. Reinhardt has shown that when you give him the right line mates, he can be a quite good player. And Reinhardt also has the versatility to be a center or a winger, although it looks like the Sabres don't want him to be a center, which means they still need a long-term second center because they traded O'Reilly. No, they got Eric Stahl.
It was Eric Stahl.
Yeah. Eric Stahl is the short-term second-line center. And Reinhardt aligned with Eric Stahl should be quite good.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with Rickard Raquel. Buffalo is cutting cap. They're cutting money from the inside. They do have an interior cap going. And Raquel's contract is really good. Like, what is it? 3 years at 3.3? Whereas Reinhardt, is he signed or is he going to get paid this year?
So Reinhardt's a restricted free agent right now, so he's looking for a new deal.
Okay. He'll probably get in the 7 range.
That's
like 6 to 7. Yeah. Maybe something like Besser Bridge.
Yeah.
Something similar to that. But yeah, I don't know. Buffalo kind of has to start winning now, or Eichel's going to get mad, and that's not good.
There are already rumors that Eichel wanted out. So yeah, they need to be aggressive. And I can see bringing in Ricardo. I just personally think that's a mistake.
I think there's better ways you can go about it that don't involve trading Sam Reinhart.
Yeah, much better ways.
Yeah. And this is from a actual NHL insider. It's NHL insider Max Pacioretty, on Twitter. He said McDavid for Alzner. So that's going to happen. We need to discuss it because obviously Edmonton just comes out flying ahead in this deal. It's not even close.
Yeah.
But the NHL insider told me I'd be a simp if I didn't include this. So I'm no simp. So I just had to.
Because this is my own mock trade. I want Dom's input on this one as well.
Okay.
Alex Killorn to the Montreal Canadiens for one of their 3 second-round picks. Do you pull the trigger on that deal?
I don't want a second for Killorn. We got a first for Miller. I don't see why we can't get a first for Killorn.
Miller's younger and better.
Yes. And he was also on a cheaper deal.
Miller's last year in Tampa, was it really any better than Killorn's last season? I mean, we've seen what Miller did in Vancouver, obviously, but that's different.
Yeah.
Miller's versatility, though.
And a flat cap lowers Killorn's value.
Yeah, but Killorn's also cheaper than Miller was by almost $1 million.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, I would try to get a first-round pick for Killorn if possible. And there's also certain players you can look at league-wide. I'm definitely not talking about Brett Kulak right now.
I mean, I think Montreal would probably do that in a blink because Kulak's just criminally underrated.
What if we get Kulak and the second?
I mean, hey, as long as it involves
big brain JBB move.
As long as it involves a second, I'm happy because then we use that second to draft Tristan Robbins.
It's game.
It's over.
Tristan Robbins fan account.
Cash money.
So this is from Joey B, my buddy Joey on Twitter at Soto Lamar King. Kuznetsov to Minnesota for Dumba, straight up.
I don't know about that one.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let me think about it. Now, the Wild, I'm going to go down why it does make sense and then why it does. So the Wild do need a center, and they also pretty much have to get rid of a defenseman before the expansion draft, or else they're going to lose one of their good forwards trying to protect Matt Dumba. So trading Dumba for a center does make sense right now for the Minnesota Wild. And for the Caps, they do need to shake something up. However, why it doesn't make sense is the Caps keep trying this and keep trading for new defensemen, and I don't know why they would keep doing it. Why not just try to re-sign Gudas? Right? I mean, I don't know. And then also, value-wise, to me, Kuznetsov's not the guy you try to get for Dumba. Although I don't know. Most people are higher than Kuznetsov than I am. I don't think he's very good.
He's one of those guys that everyone kind of thinks he's better than he actually is, so his value is probably a little bit higher than it should be.
Yeah.
But value's value. I mean, Jim Benning was asking for a first-round pick for Jake fucking Virtanen. So, that's anything's possible in this world, apparently.
Anything is possible. I mean that trade could happen. I could see it happening, but there's reasons why
it's a dream.
Also might not. I mean, yeah.
It's not going to happen.
If Jake Virtanen gets traded for a first-round pick, and I someone hold me to this, I will record a video of me Fortnite default dancing.
It's being recorded right now.
I want to see it. Now I want that trade to happen.
So we got one more. This is from TIEKV1269 on Twitter. Good old Habs fan, one of my buddies too. Hurdle to the Habs for Max Domi in the 16th overall pick.
I don't do this on Montreal. As good as Tomas Hertl is, as good and underrated as he is, he's arguably a top 15 center in the league. Domi is arguably a top 20 center. I mean, he's probably in the 20s.
I wouldn't say either of them are top 20.
I don't know about that. Like they're both quite good centers if you ask me, and they would be getting better doing that trade. But I don't get why you want to trade Max Domi. I don't understand the Max Domi rumors. Why would you want to trade him?
I have no idea. But I mean, he kind of underperformed this year. Maybe he's upset.
In the season he was fine. I mean, his shooting was always going to be a little unsustainable in that 2018 to 19 year, but he was still solid this year. I mean, he's obviously not a perfect player. He's pretty bad defensively, but he's legitimately what might be one of the 5 best passers in the league. He's an insane playmaker.
I mean, who are you taking with the 16th overall pick if you're the Habs, right?
The Habs prospect pool is deep, and I do understand why they would want to trade the 16th overall pick. If I were them though, I try to do something around the 16th pick plus for Hurdle without giving up Domi.
You would have to give up a significant prospect probably because Hurdle's young and cost controlled, and I think that's going to do it for today. Yeah, I think we're right around an hour. So, good pod, boys. I think we'll be back at this next week, probably.
Depends on it depends on the situation. I mean, I'm down if I can find the time for it. Obviously,
I should be able to.
Your schedule's a bit different.
I'm back home in Tampa next week. I should be able to make some time.
All right. And we can look to add, obviously after the draft weekend, we're going to want to probably do winners and losers. We could have a guy like Sam Turpak from Dauber
If
on.
we get Sam, that would be incredible.
We could.
Yeah, he's a great dude.
Great
He's
guy.
done he's done a few things with me already, so I think I could probably ask him. He'd probably be down to do it.
Thanks for watching, guys. If anyone actually watches this, I don't know. This is kind of last minute, kind of scrambly and put together.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So
Probably solid 10 people.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys.